Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Supercars Exchange podcast. This time we're doing it a little bit differently. We're going to be doing a bit of a live commentary, but as always, I am joined by Shane. How you going?
Good, mate. I am very excited. We thought we came up with this idea to do a bit of a live reactions as to the eSeries as it's all going on. So, we've just finished the top 10 off, and we've got Shane Van Gisbergen on pole by the looks of it. So he's been braining in qualifying the last couple of races. So it'll be an interesting race, no doubt.
We're just kind of dipping our toes in the water a little bit, just seeing what works and what doesn't. So, it'll be interesting to see whether this kind of system works out. See if we go with it. We might just vary it up a little bit. But it looks like we're going to be starting the first race pretty soon.
Yeah, we're not too far away from the first race. It'll be certainly. I think there's a decent there's a decent mix of drivers in the top 10 at the very least. I haven't seen what the rest of the field looks like, but Lee Holdsworth managed to make the top 10. We've got Will Power there. Lando Norris was no big surprise that he made the top 10. The usual top three suspects are up the pointy end as well. So as we've seen throughout the races so far, that Van Gisbergen's tended to have the pace over the field throughout the course of qualifying, but then over the race distance, then it seems to reverse back around the other way a little bit, and the other two drivers are able to close that gap. So whether it's because tyre wear starts to play its part, and the other guys might be a little bit better on worn tyres on iRacing, but we wait and see what happens during the race, but it should be a good one anyway.
Well, we got a table here anyway. Scott McLaughlin is still on top, but his lead has been significantly slashed since the beginning of it. So Cam Waters, like we've been saying for a lot of the reviews, has been very consistent, and now he's ended up in second spot. He's not very far behind McLaughlin. Then we got SVG in behind. Like we've been saying, he's been coming on strong for the last couple of rounds.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, actually, no, that's right, because they gave that penalty to Van Gisbergen after the next day. So yeah, I didn't know what happened for points there, but yeah, that makes sense because they brought up the points graphic after the last round, and it showed Van Gisbergen was in second place ahead of Waters. I think he was only about 6 points ahead of Waters, but definitely closed the gap down to McLaughlin. So it's still the better part of a race because they're still working on half points. So it'd be I think it's. Yeah, McLaughlin is not in the box seat by any means yet. Like, he's still going to have to keep racking up those podium finishes, and he's looking at the way Van Gisbergen's come on over the past couple of weeks at least. Then I reckon he's probably going to have to hope that Van Gisbergen has a bad night and has a couple of races down the bottom of the field.
Well, really, all that needs to happen is that if McLaughlin crashes out from one of the races, or he has even an internet connection issue, I guess, then even then he would lose a whole race worth. So that could put him in a bit of danger there, at least.
Yeah, I know for McLaughlin, last time out, the second race at Spa, he had a bit of a shocker there, and I think that's what really killed the points lead, because it was over 100 points, I think, going into the round, and now it's significantly less than 100 points. But a lead's still a lead. You'd rather be leading than fourth or fifth spot. You look at poor old Anton De Pasquale. He's one of the fastest guys in the field. He hasn't had a clean weekend so far. There's always one or two. Like last time around, he got taken out twice by Van Gisbergen, and prior to that, if he usually in the reverse grid races is where he seems to struggle a lot. Like he'll start at the back along with the other guys, but then like 2 or 3 laps in, you'll see McLaughlin and Van Gisbergen might be up around the top 10 or inside it already, and then De Pasquale's still down to like 18th or something like that, and then even after the pit stops, you'll have those other two guys that might be up around, at least well inside the top 10, and De Pasquale's had a shocker and he's still down in 18th or 20th or something like that.
So we've got our first race here of the night. It's the 11 lap race, which has actually been determined by the shootout. We're just using the short version of the circuit, as we can see on the map. There's still a very complex section going through 3, 4, and 5. I think they tried to replicate. There's some famous turns like that. I think in one of the other F1 circuits, and I think they're trying to replicate
Silverstone.
that.
I know the S is meant to be based off Silverstone, and I think a little bit like was it Magny-Cours over in France? Like they've named various parts of the circuit after corners of the other ones. So you have the Adelaide hairpin because it's based off the turn
Ah,
9 hairpin. I think it's not, or it's turn 9 now. But I don't know if it was turn 9 back in the day.
yeah.
But yeah, it's based off that same hairpin at Adelaide. So
So Will Powers qualified a little bit better than he did in the last round. So it's pretty exciting that we've got both Will Power and Lando Norris back again for this round. So obviously both of those guys were wild cards. We've also got Craig Lowndes and Garth Tander in for this round as well.
have not seen their names yet. I'm guessing
No.
they're way down the back.
I reckon they will be, yes. I don't think either of them have played too much iRacing before.
Yeah. Jamie Whincup probably gapped it by a second a lap.
Yeah.
You know.
Jamie Whitcup's now professional compared to those guys.
Maybe. Well, he is a race winner. You can't take that away.
That is true. That is true. Here we go. Let's see if they ever come up.
The numbers are getting higher. We still haven't seen a couple
I think
of those.
there's almost
big names.
30
There's Whincup.
There's Whincup.
So they are still regularly in 23rd and 24th. Then Austin Cindric, whoever he is.
There's
got
Garth.
Rick Kelly, so
Garth and Rick. Oh no, there's Craig Lowndes.
he's out qualified Chris Pither.
He's
that's a
qualified
start.
at least one person.
And Jack Smith.
Smith.
I thought Lando would have been a little bit higher than 8th, though.
Here we
I
go.
thought that might have been something.
They aren't very well lined up.
No.
There we go. Green lights, here we go.
It's not a bad start by Van Gisbergen, but
Lowndes has gone straight to the wall
Wow,
and just running over the wall.
they are just running. Like, it looks like half of them have just come out of the pits.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Will Powers taken out Mostert immediately. Or was that... I can't tell between all of the WAU cars. They all look the same.
Well, it looked like there was about half a dozen Red Bull cars out in the grid for this one, too.
That's true.
When you got Tander and Lowndes out there as well, they just, thought they might have tried to give them a slightly different paint scheme for the car. Fishing rod or
Here we
something.
go. Holdsworth down the inside.
It's not a bad battle, that, though. It's quite enjoy that. It's pretty even between the two. Holdsworth has to concede here.
Well, Powell got out of that corner really well, though. Looks like they're going to be threatened by Mostert pretty quickly, though. Mostert's really on the back of Holdsworth.
Yeah, and then Waters isn't too far behind. If a move from Mostert doesn't pull off, then Waters is going to be there to pick up a couple of spots pretty quickly.
Looks like Holdsworth just has like the one lap pace. He still can't quite get that overall race pace down pat. Whereas Mostert is good on that overall race pace.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, they are very quick, but over the course of 11 laps here, drivers like Holdsworth are probably just more likely to make those handful of tiny little mistakes that end up costing you that few seconds, and you'll end up losing a few positions. So Coulthard's had a pretty good start though. He was down in 22nd or something like that after qualifying. He's up to 15th, so no doubt there's a few. Even Jack Smith's up to 19th.
Yeah,
it might be his best result.
I think there might have been a few issues at the start then if they've jumped so many positions.
There might have been.
People going into the pit lane already, but we've seen in a couple of the other rounds that the undercut does work pretty well. So if you get on your new tyres early on, then you can get some pace, and then you can undercut those guys that pit a bit later.
I reckon it's worked way more than we've seen far more good results achieved by pitting early and holding on. The drop off doesn't seem to be as big an effect. You get towards those last couple of laps, in real racing, you see drivers that take the early gamble, they can really fall backwards in those last 3 or 4 laps of a race.
Yeah.
Especially somewhere like Barbagallo. But you don't seem to get that in iRacing.
It looks like Chaz must have just got a slowdown penalty there. He just almost slammed on the brakes, and Waters almost went into the back of him there.
It did a little bit, because it would be hard to miss a gear in iRacing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that would have as big an effect.
Well, especially in these ones where they're sequential anyway. So, have you seen the conspiracy theories about how we never see Shane? And how the fact that he's not actually driving his rig, someone else is driving his rig for him. I've seen so many of those. It's ridiculous. It's just I wonder why we never see Shane. Is it because he's paying someone else to drive his rig for him? We only ever hear his voice.
I'll go with it. It's a rort. I'll buy in. That sounds plausible.
It's Brody Kostecki or something, because Brody
Yeah.
Kostecki is the king of iRacing in regards
Oh,
to
good.
supercars.
Could you just imagine? That would just be the funniest if it got found out that Van Giz just didn't care and it was Brody that was in the seat. That would be hilarious. For the on board, you just get, oh,
Oh,
wow, Waters went, he was a little bit hot coming into the pits.
that's not the line. Oh, he is
Yeah,
having internet issues, and he's having a chat to someone at the same time.
he's on the phone to Telstra.
Oh, he's off again. He's not going too well.
So
I like
I'm not sold on the yellow wheels though.
No, they look terrible.
I think the SVG white wheels look the best, but
Or black, just white or black, honestly.
yeah. Oh, there round goes
Oh,
Waters.
nice unloading
That's,
waters.
Yeah, that's if they're going to keep the consistency, that would have to be a penalty.
Yeah.
One would imagine. I don't think because you're the guest that he can get away with it.
Well, this is his second time here now, so he's not even a guest anymore.
Oh, there's Lowndes in all
Lowndes
sorts of
has
trouble.
binned it.
He's not having the greatest night, but it actually going back to Norris's antics last week. Oh wow, he's just got that all sorts of cross up his Lounsey, bang into the wall it goes. In real life, you're pretty winded after that.
Yeah.
you got a pretty slow walk back to the garage. But yeah, after Lando's incident last week, and there was no talk of a penalty at all for him for what was, like any other of the regular supercars drivers probably would have copped a penalty. It kind of made me think of all the times you go around to a mate's place and you and your mate are you're acting up, you're just being royal little shits, and then your mate's mum ups him for it, but you get away with it scot-free, even though you might have still been slightly the worst of it. Like, to me, that's what it was like for Lando Norris, that he was around his mate's place having a great old time. They were all mucking around, and it was his mates that got in trouble, but not him. We're just starting the final lap now, so it's going to be. It looks like it's just going to be 1, 2, 3 for those three, and
They
a couple of
wrap
seconds
up another
between
one.
them. Yeah, that's it, Van Gisbergen, unless it's another post-race penalty for whatever reason. Still got a couple of guys in the pits down here, so don't know of what the guy goes with that.
One of the WAU
still one more
cars.
coming in.
2 WAU cars.
They might be just not late stoppers, perhaps, maybe.
True.
Just
I think
didn't stop, because we do see that as a tactic that they'll just keep going right until they'll try and get the overcut, the last minute overcut. But
this is a cool view. I like this one up here. I'm glad that they've really put in lots of effort to the camera views, because it makes it more realistic for sure.
Yeah, I think most of these are all in a very similar position to where you would see the actual camera views from during a Grand Prix or any other race at that circuit. I'm glad we don't see too many of the chase cams and stuff like that you get in a lot of video games, where it's a view that you would never otherwise see. It is cool when they put it on for during an incident, that you get that different point of view of it. But for the regular telecast of it, trying to keep everything as realistic as you can, I think is a better way to go.
So here we go, Van Gisbergen about to cross the line to wrap up the first race, so that means he'll be starting at the back end of the grid, and we'll probably end up seeing Craig Lowndes at the front end of the grid, more than likely. But there we go. Another win for Van Gisbergen, doing very well. Where is the finish line was way back there. I thought it's like right back after the last corner there.
Yeah, I think it's right where the pretty much just after where the ripple strip finishes after the final corner there is where the finish line is.
Doing some nice skids for us right in front of the camera.
Yeah. Fair result by Lee Holdsworth though. Top 5. That's a good result from him.
Well, he only dropped a position in the end, which is pretty decent.
That's it. But normally we haven't really seen him in the top 10 too often. Jamie Whincup 14th. That's a good result for him. He's definitely on the improve. And then down the back is pretty much all of the wildcards. Looking at the bottom there, there's not too many regulars in amongst that bottom handful of cars. It's all the ring-ins for the night. But
I think a lot of people got caught up on that first corner curb, because there's this glitch in iRacing, whereas if you hit a curb too hard, it glitches and then it just flips you over. I think Shaver Gisbergen posted it on Instagram early in the week of Garth Tander just going straight up and over. So that everyone was just avoiding that first curb basically.
I remember seeing it at Bathurst. I think McLaughlin, he hit the curb at turn 1. Might have been in the final race or one of those, but he ended up going up to, like, it nearly would have gone to the point of tipping over. And it's like, there's like, we're used to seeing supercars bounce up fairly high under two wheels, but normally they come back down straight away, not just continue to flip over.
Going through a bit of news as we've got a bit of a break. So Supercars has announced that there is the BP All Stars wildcard for basically, so if you're a fan and you think you're an absolute god at iRacing, you can compete in what is called the time trial mode for and you have to set a lap at Phillip Island, and then those top 5 people get chosen at random, and whoever is the person that's chosen at random from the top 5 times, they get to compete as a wildcard entry for round 8, which is pretty exciting. So people have been crying out, give us one of the eSeries stars or something to see how they compare to some of the really fast eSeries guys, and now we're getting that. So we'll more than likely get some absolute weapon of an eSeries driver absolutely destroying everyone.
Yeah, no doubt, I reckon. But it's still kind of, in a way, it's a little bit of a shame, because you know that if they're just looking for the top 5, fastest guys on iRacing, you know it's going to be one of those professional esports races.
Yeah.
They probably still earn a decent living from what they do anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I would have thought just starting a competition, enter on Facebook, and then they give you a couple of weeks. They line it up with Logitech or a couple of other places that will loan you a sim for a couple of weeks, and you've got 2 weeks to get your eye in as best you can, and then they unleash you on the rest of the supercars field. To me, that would be more entertaining to see something like that, and you'd have tens of thousands of entries, and they've just got to give it to they could give it to even like 3 or 4 of the guys, and then out of that, or even like a qualifying race, do it to 10 guys, and whoever's the fastest out of that, like, wins that race, actually gets to go on to become a wildcard entry for the supercars race. Like, if we've got this celebrity race happening next week that we'll get into shortly as well, we've got like, they could do it during that broadcast in a couple of weeks on the Monday night after the supercars show that's on a Monday night. So
we've got the celebrity race that's coming up on the 18th of May. So that's next Monday. In fact, yep, next Monday it will be, and we have quite a few people from rugby to freestyle, motocross, and golf, and cricket as well. So it's going to be pretty exciting. Some of the people that we would actually know is Barry Ryan from Elvis, Brad Jones, also obviously Neil Compton as well, and we've got Toby Price who has and Zach Brown as well. And Toby Price has actually raced in the Stadium Super Trucks, and also then in the Super Utes as well. So he's got experience in a rally. I think some of these guys are going to go really well. So I think Toby Price will probably be one of the guys who's going to smash it, because he probably has experience with iRacing previously. I feel as if he'd be one of those guys that would definitely do it. But I'm really looking forward to Neil Compton going around on a simulator. I think that's going to be great.
I reckon secretly he's been on it for the last few weeks anyway, and he's probably just going to brain them all. It wouldn't surprise me if he's already had the inside information that that's something that's going to happen, and he's been working hard at it for the last few weeks to get his eye in. But yeah, we got Dr. Ryan Story from DJR Team Penske is also taking part. Zach Brown will be an interesting one, because I know he definitely watches all of Lando Norris's iRacing. You can often, if you tune into Lando's Twitch feed, he often texts Zach Brown after or before a race starts anyway. So he's generally always tuning in to watch his young talent drive around. So he'll be another interesting one to watch. I'm looking forward to that. But I reckon it's just going to be a lot of fun. We've got Peter Siddle. He's bowler from cricket, like fast bowler. One of the best bowlers Australia's ever produced. So he's going to be pretty cool to watch. We've got one of the soccer players from the Brisbane Roar that's taking part. We got Jack Rewalt too from AFL. We've got a couple of AFL players that'll be taking part as well. I haven't seen any NRL stars sign up yet, but the fact that they're not far off getting their season restarted, they may not get the okay just yet. But we still waiting to hear more sign up, so we still might see a couple of drivers pop up yet. I would have thought that maybe they might have got a couple of the ex-stars that do a lot of the commentary work on the NRL broadcast for Fox now. They might have chucked a couple of them in the deep end and throwing them a simulator to say you're doing this Monday night.
We might end up with a bit of a disaster then if people don't know where the brake pedal is or something like that. We might end up with cars flying through the air again like the first round.
I'm not expecting to see too much quality racing up and down the field. I reckon it's just going to be a lot of entertainment. I don't know. I know it's at Bathurst. I'm not sure what like how long the race is going to be. For all I know, it's only a single 8-lap race. I don't know. No doubt the damage is all being turned off, I would think. I don't think they're going to allow too much of that, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's just going to be cool to see some of these guys who obviously don't have any experience in any sort of racing. They might all be racing fans, but as far as simulator racing, it's not going to be there. Brad Jones, he wouldn't have played a video game probably since Tetris back in the 90s, or the early 90s perhaps. So there's a video up online now. You can watch some of his first tentative laps on iRacing that his son was that Macaulay Jones was trying to teach him as well. So that was pretty cool to see as well. So I'll be keen to sit down and have a better watch of that when I get a little bit more of a chance as well. So, but we're starting to see them grid up for the second race now. We're seeing, we're back down to Fabian Coulthard. He's 15th, so he actually wouldn't have had a too bad result after the first race there.
So Andy would have ended up like 16th, I think, then possibly.
Yeah.
Well, we got Josh Fifey and then Craig Lowndes on pole, so it'll be interesting to see whether they bog it down or whether they're able to get it away properly. And we've only gone up to position number 24. Oh no,
still going.
I don't know what's going on there with the graphic.
There's one car missing on that graphic.
Yeah, well they weren't lighting them up properly for some reason because now it's the wrong way round. I'm pretty sure.
Now it'll be Van Gisbergen all on his onesies at the back there. So yeah, I think the graphics people skipped a car.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, unless someone just missed out on getting their car up on the screen. But either way, it would be cool to actually be able to they got that mega wall thing with all the different camera angles. It would actually be cool if they just kept streaming that on like the Fox Sports Facebook page or something like that. Just so you could, you wouldn't sit there and just watch that for the race, but you might be happy to sit there and just watch that for a few minutes. Throughout the course of a broadcast as well. That might be something a bit different as well.
Well, I remember back when they used to do... Oh, wow. He's got a direct drive wheel.
That. Yeah, I was looking more at the old Castrol petrol Bowser that was behind there. That's what I really want in the man cave.
He has a sim experience direct drive wheel, which are really, really cool. They're actually relatively cheap for a direct drive wheel. It's funny, he's going from like a Logitech G29 to a direct drive wheel. That's like literally like the opposite end of the market.
Yeah.
He's got no in between. He's just put all of his money into it. I'm pretty sure they're an Australian company, but here we go. One of the yellow cars back there definitely isn't in their grid spot, but we're about to get going for the reverse grid race here in COTA.
So it'll be interesting to see how long Lowndes stays at the pointy end for. It's not a bad start for him though. He might get a good run into turn 1.
Jack Smith bogged it down massively and scored a big drive at the back and looks like Coulthard. And he's taken out heaps of the pack.
Yeah.
Winterbottom's gone as well.
Van Gisbergen was one of those. Oh no, there goes Van Gis. He managed to survive. And they're still turning around.
The first corner as well. That's McLaughlin gone. Van Gisbergen's avoided it.
Was that still...
No, that's McLaughlin morphed into the 22.
So yeah, there's cars going around everywhere.
Lowndes is dropping back rapidly. Is that Hazelwood in the lead?
Yes, I believe so. Oh,
And
there goes
Lowndes has
Lounsey
spun it.
again. He's nosed up against the wall. Oh,
Because
someone's dropped the back end.
the 3-4-4 car's spun, which is Kostecki. Hazelwood's just gonna run away. He doesn't want
Yeah.
anything involved with the rest of these
Well,
guys.
Norris is currently up to second, so you think it won't take him
Wow,
too long
that
to. I
surely
think
that's
I
wrong.
think that was Van Gisbergen then. So it was another Red Bull. Unless it was Lowndes again, but I think there was another Red Bull car that ended up pointing the wrong way.
Wow.
Oh no, there's still white tire, white wheels in the background. So there's still Van Gisbergen down to 22nd.
Maybe Wincup just needs to clear the way for Van Gisbergen so he can get through.
Maybe,
He's got
maybe,
Van Gisbergen's got so many teammates around the field now. He doesn't have any
yeah.
excuse. They're pitting on lap one. There was two people going in on lap one, unless they've got damage.
I think the damage would have to be high for a lot of these guys, but I'm expecting Norris to climb up to the lead here fairly quick, and then he'll just drive away with this race.
Gisbergen just going really slow up into the first corner.
I think that's been his. I've seen that in a couple of races now. When he starts at the back, he doesn't care about where he doesn't care about trying to make up positions into the first corner because he knows he's going to make up 7 or 8 by just trying to stay last.
Yeah.
Because everyone's going to crash in front of him, so he just picks up the spoils, and then after there's a little bit of field spread, that's when he starts getting into it. So maybe that's the trick for when you're starting at the back.
Well, here he is already. He's up to 12th position, so he's going really well. He's about to make that move on Percat.
Yeah, McLaughlin's up to 14th, so he's only a couple of spots behind.
So it's the chase is on now.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the battle we were talking about earlier for first place between Hazelwood and Norris. Norris is all over Hazelwood now.
You think it's just a matter of time, or he might even make a lunge into the final corner if he waits that long. No, he thought he was going to try and stick the nose up the inside of all these sweeping right-handers on the way back to the final corner.
I hope they change the livery of the Brute car before racing goes back, because it doesn't look that good, I don't think.
Oh, there it is.
Here we go, the dive down the inside.
Into the final corner. Well, yeah, it's like, what is it, military grade Brute or something like that.
Yeah.
I haven't worn Brute since I was 12 because that was, when you're 12, Brute was the most amazing smelling thing ever.
The race has settled down a little bit now, at least. We're about to get a bit of a replay of Van Gisbergen completely cutting the course.
He's definitely track extended there.
How many off tracks is that? That was about 3 in one go.
It might have given him a slowdown.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Been relatively clean at the front. After they get away from the grid, they stayed pretty clean. We've got Kostecki in behind, and then Di Pasquale has actually done pretty well as well. So he's definitely going to be getting some decent points over Van Gisbergen and McLaughlin now.
Yeah, well, when you see Van Gisbergen down in 8th and McLaughlin's down in 19th, so he's had a bit of a shocker again, McLaughlin. So you'd think that might almost wipe out his lead in. Actually, for Waters, it would definitely it'd be evening up what probably would have happened in the first race. But for Van Gisbergen, he'll be taking quite a big chunk out of McLaughlin's lead. Yeah, I know it's only paying half-ish points, so it might not quite be enough to leapfrog him, but definitely McLaughlin's going to have some work to do in the third and final race. So, yeah, definitely as far as the championship ladder is concerned, McLaughlin's definitely going to want to up his game from here on in, because the reverse grid races have not agreed with him for the last couple of weeks now. But we see Norris coming out of the final corner, and he's done it fairly comfortably in the end, but Waters kept him honest. Was that Hazelwood wasn't too far behind in third place again, so someone went around at the final corner, undone all their hard work. But that's a good result from Hazelwood though. Like he's reverse grid race, yes, but again he's still got to put in the good lap after good lap to come home in third, and so he'll be pretty happy with a virtual podium at least.
I think they're just parking up. They're just waiting. Oh, Will Powell wants to be on the podium again.
Yeah, that's it.
He loves
but again,
parking up
looking at Waters' car though, it has not got a scratch on it. He does it every week. He just seems to have that good, solid result. Stays out of all the drama, and seems to always come home in the top 5. So it's a pretty solid result by him again. So you cannot count him out of this championship. Like, he may only end up with 1 or 2 race wins by season's end, but by just keeping his nose clean and just doing what he has to do, he might still win this championship. Yeah.
I think it must have been Mostert that spun on that final corner because Van Gisbergen ended up making up a position. There's lots of people that have ended up a lap down, so they aren't having a very good time of it, considering it's a pretty big lap around here.
Yeah, Virgin Australia potentially being bought out by the Queensland government, which would be interesting. It would certainly help with the future of the airline and hopefully help with their future involvement in supercars as well. So at the moment they're talking about it potentially the $2 million or $200 million that they were putting up before to help rescue the airline um, would probably still stand, and that'll either be in the way of either buying a share in the airline or perhaps as a loan, and or it might even be like a contra deal where they're just going to prepay like a couple of $100 million worth of airfares for the politicians that fly here, there, and everywhere around the country as well. So it would be interesting to see if that actually comes to any sort of fruition. I think it's like I'd certainly much rather see it being bought by the Queensland government, even though like certainly there would be taxpayers that would be buying that airline essentially, sorry. Um, but I think I'd much rather see that than it be owned by offshore entities or like solely owned offshore. So it
Yeah.
would mean that the money that the airline can start making, gets put back into Queensland a little bit too. So I think that would be pretty cool. But I think overall it would just be good to see them hang around, so that way for supercars at least they may be able to still hold on to their involvement into supercars as well.
So does that mean that then, if Queensland government does buy at least a share in Virgin Australia, does that mean the Queensland government technically sponsors supercars in the end?
Well, yeah, potentially they certainly pick up the involvement in it because obviously all the Queensland rounds in supercars, of which they're down to two this year, but up until this year it was three. They've always been taxpayer or government funded as well, to a certain degree as well. So that would be interesting there to see what happens. From there on in, that could also mean that so the Queensland government might end up running supercars, which would be an interesting notion as well. That might be something we might be able to get that final round being held in New South Wales rule away, which would be an interesting one as well, because that's the big one at the moment that we're seeing is that the final round has to be held in New South Wales, and I thought to myself, does it really have to be?
Yeah.
I know generally it always has been. I can't remember. I think you'd have to go back to Phillip Island, quite a few years ago now was the last time that we've seen it outside of New South Wales that I can think of. It's certainly never been in Queensland, but maybe that's a way that we can have it held somewhere else around we might be able to have it up here in Queensland. Maybe not Queensland Raceway, but perhaps somewhere else in Queensland. Yeah, Lakeside would be pretty cool. But even Townsville, middle by late November, early December, it's going to be getting quite warm. But that might be something that we see happen. But of course, just because the government might end up owning Virgin, owning a chunk of Virgin doesn't mean we would have enough pull within the sport to determine whether the final round could be. But maybe a few of the state governments here to get together to try and find a way to get it shared around a little bit more.
So we're going into the final race of the evening. I'm pretty sure that we got Cam Waters on fourth. So we got this is basically where we get all of the big guns get taken up to the top. All of the people that have performed well throughout the previous two races get pushed towards the front. So we end up with some pretty decent racing for most of these races.
I think I just seen on the graphic there, I may be wrong, I might have just been seeing things, but I thought it showed Scott McLaughlin in fifth, which I'm surprised he would still be qualifying for fifth for this race. But I have Fabian Coulthard's picture next to the car, so I don't know which one it was. So I do often see up on Facebook after the race where some of these graphics guys get quite a few things wrong throughout the race by putting drivers in the wrong team and so on and so forth along the way through a supercars weekend. So it wouldn't surprise me if what I've seen was correct, but I don't know for certain.
Well, here we go. We're about to go for the final race of the night. 20 laps around the COTA circuit, and off we go. Shane is a little bit delayed, so We might have it's a pretty clean start. It's into the first corner, and it looks like Norris is going straight for it, but we've got Di Pasquale leading off, and there's been a spinner. It was
Oh,
between.
around goes McLaughlin. He sort of got straightened up there.
Yeah, he got straightened up by Norris again. Someone's just shortcutted straight through the grass on the right hand side there. For me,
Yeah.
and someone's gone straight into the pits. It's Holdsworth into the pits very early on, considering must be doing two pit stops for this race because that's really early on for a 20 lap race.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be doing 19 laps on the one set of tyres.
I think this is the one where they have to do fuel and tires as well
Yeah.
because they limit the amount of fuel that's in the fuel tank, so you're like basically forced to do fuel as well.
Yeah, I think that's it. We did the same thing last time out at Spa, and I actually like this is the format of the race weekend that I like the most.
Yeah.
Of having two short races, one of them being reverse grid, and then combine the points for the round to that point up, and that sorts out the starting grid for the feature race, which is generally around double the length anyway.
Well, I think also with the cumulative points for it, even though one of the races is a reverse grid race, they have enough time to almost sort themselves out to, I guess, in quotation marks, normal order. So we don't end up with like people that are too slow being towards the front of the grid. We actually end up with like a decent amount of people towards the front. So it makes it nice and interesting for the start, but we're just seeing a replay of the start now where Di Pasquale covers Shane Van Gisbergen pretty hard, but that dive by Norris at the start really caused quite a bit of drama.
Ambitious.
Yeah, it was really ambitious. I think he likes going really ambitious into a lot of those corners, but he ended up going quite wide and losing a couple of positions as well after that move on McLaughlin. Looks like McLaughlin got damage on his his left front. But you can see it from another angle.
He might not want to wait. That's a really cool shot from behind the fence. It makes it's like a fan's view.
Yeah.
It's what you'd get if you were a fan looking at turn one.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I quite like that one. But yeah, got a whole bunch of cars in pit lane, McLaughlin included. I didn't think he would be. I didn't think he would wait too long to see McLaughlin pit because he surely would have got damage.
Waters, he's in third position, so he's doing pretty well. Mostert has been a bit of a quiet achiever for this round, just quietly plugging away. He was having a bit of a battle with Norris in the first race, I do remember. But I think Norris just knows the circuit a little bit better than most of these other drivers, so he knows where you can make a move and where you don't really have to defend. So he's been able to trump them in a couple of those departments. I was just.
I think Van Gisbergen just pitted there. He is.
Yeah, he's just in the pits.
He's going to have a crack at the undercut.
Well, he's probably undercut Di Pasquale at least. But it looks like Waters has continued as well, and so has Power. So he's one of the first guys that are up towards the front end of the field that have decided to pit early. I think Holdsworth with this lap was up towards the front as well, so he's obviously one of the front runners that pitted.
Yeah, McLaughlin pitted early. He pitted 3 laps ago, so it'll be interesting to see how much of a gap he might have been able to close back up. It certainly doesn't look like he's going to leapfrog him. Yeah, he's just coming up crossing the main straight, so he's still what a good probably 4 or 5 seconds behind. As Van Gisbergen nearly turned off the anti-gravity mode as well.
So Di Pasquale and Waters are both in, so like you were saying, you don't want to be caught out by the undercut of Van Gisbergen.
No, he's coming around on the run to the final corner.
This is going to be very close, I think.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be too much in it. I think, if anything, the inside line that Di Pasquale is going to have might be all that saves him going into turn 1. Accelerating out of the pits.
That's ridiculous how much he's gained.
I reckon Van Gisbergen might have... he might have him. No, Anton might just hold on.
Just don't hit that inside curve. It looks like Van Gisbergen's going to go around the outside of him into the second corner.
No, Anton's held on.
Space. But now the pressure will be on Anton for sure.
Yeah, certainly a lap on cold tyres is not going to be helpful.
I think this is going to be almost the battle for the championship lead at this point.
I think so, because we've seen McLaughlin's back up into 6th. And there's still a couple of guys in front yet to pit. I'm not sure where they're...
and Fullwood now.
Power and Fullwood.
Yeah.
But that'll still put him up into 4th, potentially.
Yeah.
So it's still not going to be a huge drop in points, but certainly for McLaughlin, he's going to be wanting to hope that we start to see a few more repeats of what happened last time out at Spa between these two. That's a decent drift if you can hold it. No, not
Nah.
quite. Um,
Oh, Lounge straight into. Oh, was it Tanda or Lounge? No, it was
I-
Lounge.
it just started buffering on me at the wrong moment.
Oh, nice.
I've missed everything. But
Lounge went straight into the side of him.
yeah, it's like it's sensitive for me. Like it doesn't want me to see it.
Van Gisbergen has lost that gap to him now, though, because of that late pit stop. So, as we've seen in all of the previous races, the undercut has worked again. Van Gisbergen's probably just hoping that his newer tyres are going to help it in these last 5 laps to chase down Di Pasquale.
Yeah, we see it like I mentioned right at the start of our podcast tonight that pitting early seems to give you that decent undercut advantage, but if you pit later, you just don't seem to have the benefit of those new tyres to be able to get past the guy in front again. So unless they've pitted significantly ahead of you, I don't think it works out that well. Like Di Pasquale only pitted a couple of laps ago now, so it's probably not going to be enough fresh tyre there for Van Gisbergen to be able to do a hell of a lot with it. He's just going to have to do it on raw speed, which I think he probably does have, but he's probably also a little bit extra cautious now after what happened last week. So, but hey, like I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we might still see it tangling together into the final couple of corners of the race. So,
Van Gisbergen has closed up massively to Di Pasquale.
It's kind of funny though, on that little tiny short shoot there, they all run down the AstroTurf again.
Yeah.
If it were real life, there would be no grip there.
They'd be spinning.
You wouldn't be able to have your entire car on the AstroTurf.
Here we go! He's spun it again!
Yeah, he's done it again. All over again.
This is the worst.
He's redressed it, but you still got to cop a penalty, don't you?
Oh, no, I reckon if he's let him back past.
He's let him back through, it's fair enough, but tell you what.
He's gone for the dive, but Di Pasquale's just gone, nope, not letting you through there, mate. These guys don't even actually battle that much on circuit in real life, so it's interesting to see these guys actually battle each other.
Well, you'd think imagine what it's going to be like if Di Pasquale did join DJR Team Penske next year, if McLaughlin moved on. That would be very interesting.
But a very good win by Di Pasquale in the end.
Yeah, that's
holding off that charging Van Gisbergen and even butting heads with him right towards the end there. But yeah, really good race overall. Looks like McLaughlin did end it. Oh, orders to the line, trying to get him on the line.
Oh, nearly got him. But actually, no, the finish line would have been a fair bit further back. It is deceiving, though. I fall for it all the time, but that's a good result for McLaughlin. He didn't have the best second race to climb back up from whatever it was, 5th or 6th, and come home with a podium in the third race is a decent effort, but he's certainly lost a few points out to those couple of guys in front of him. But yeah, it's still But again, a real life scenario. Van Gisbergen still would have got a penalty for it. I know that you're not going to get one here, and again, I'm happy to go with that. It is that gentleman's like that sort of unspoken agreement that if you turn someone around, you just let them go back ahead of you. Lucky for them that they still had a fair advantage. If McLaughlin was only a second or so behind, he would have got the lead from that. So, it's probably fair enough that certainly Van Gisbergen doesn't get a penalty from it, but real life might have been a different scenario altogether again.
For my 3-2-1, just something very quick before we wrap up. For my 1 point, I'm going with Davison. I've been thinking about this during the race. I don't know whether you have, but with my
a little bit.
I've been going with Will Davison. For my 2 points, I'm going with Waters, and then for my 3, I'm going with Anton Di Pasquale, just because he was managed to holding off Van Gisbergen, despite the fact that Van Gisbergen did turn him around just now, but he did hold him off with good tyres. But yeah, that's my 3-2-1 for this night.
I might actually go with Holdsworth for 1 point for getting a solid result in race 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then I might go for Van Gisbergen for 2 points because he took the first race out, and then he'd had a pretty solid race 2 and a solid race 3. And then Anton, I think, 3 points. It's probably been his best round all up. He did get turned around, but he was still able to go around and take the lead at the end of the day and get the win. So it's I think he gets the 3 points. I finally got a replay of the Lowndes going into the unit car, so I did get to finally see that after it buffered on me a little bit earlier on. This is actually the first time in a long time that I've actually had the buffering issue. Maybe it's because we are doing a messenger call while we do the podcast. It's just chewing up a little bit too much internet on me.
Yeah.
But maybe the wife's downstairs watching something on Netflix as well. So maybe we got internet flying out the door at the moment. But yeah, I think that's mine. Is Anton 3 points. It's been probably his best round of the season so far. Van Gisbergen 2. I'll give Holdsworth 3 just for the first one. McLaughlin, I was very tempted to give him the 1 point because it was still a decent recovery for race 3, but I'd like to see Holdsworth get a point.
So thank you very much all for tuning in tonight. Hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all enjoyed this different setup. Thank you very much for joining me, Shane.
No worries, mate. And just a reminder, our next show, we're going to be doing a special on the future of the Supercars broadcast deal. That's we've seen the news come out in the last week, as we touched on in the last podcast, that Channel 10 may be looking to pull out of their broadcast deal. So we're going to do something a little bit different for that, or a bit of a special again to go a bit more in depth about the broadcast deal and what it might mean for Supercars. But we hope everybody enjoyed this podcast with the difference to get our somewhat live. It'll be delayed to you guys, but our somewhat live reaction and dribble throughout this podcast, or this eSeries on Fox Sports. So hopefully everyone enjoyed it.
Well, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you all again very soon.